Hi, I'm Tim Scales, the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Economic Education here at Indiana University East.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to another episode of In Your Business.
We talk to local entrepreneurs, we learn about their business, we learn about why they started their business, how they started their business, some of the opportunities their businesses has provided them and their community, as well as some of the hurdles they've gone through, some of the challenges. Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to meet with a couple interesting entrepreneurs. When we talk about entrepreneurship, you know, sometimes it's interesting to see that there's one entrepreneur, other times there's going to be multiple entrepreneurs, and today there's going to be two. It's a partnership. So we're going to learn about a partnership, we're going to talk to these guys, we're going to find out some of the things that they've gone through, why it works for them, and how they've made it work. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Phil, Andy, it's great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Glad to be here, Tim.
What I like to do is on the show, before we actually go into the business and talk about the business, I like to talk about you, get to know who you are, maybe a little bit about your backgrounds, where you grew up, what you were thinking as you grew up. Because you know, as kids, we know what we're going to be. You know, we're going to be a lawyer, we're going to be a teacher, we're going to be a paramedic, we're going to be, you know, a flight attendant. But what were you guys thinking?
That's a good question. I was kind of raised to be in the pest control. My father owned a pest control. Before that, he worked at a pest control. And probably by the age of 13 or 14, I knew more about bugs than most people know their whole life.
Okay.
But by the time of 17 and 18, as all teenagers, I didn't stay that course. I actually quit the company. I didn't go over real well with the family at the time. But at that time, you know, being a typical 18, 19-year-old, I didn't like how it was going, so I got into another field of ironworkers, which was something I didn't know anything about. I served a 4-year apprenticeship. I graduated. I stayed into it. And then, funny as it would be, around 29, I think, I started wanting to go back into pest control. And I had missed a 10-year gap, but I still remembered everything about bugs. So when I got out of the ironworkers, an old man said, you know what, you should probably start a home inspection company. Really didn't know much about home inspections. Andy and I had grew up together in the same neighborhood. We met, talked about starting a business. Didn't really know how to get it started. Kind of knew, because with my dad owning his own business, it started out of our house in 1977. I seen how it started, how it grew, where he took it and how he got it there. And it was funny because I used to have to go to meetings with him when I was a small kid, where I really shouldn't have been there. Didn't know why I was there. Always told to keep your mouth shut and your ears open. I'm like, okay. So I'd sit there and listen to these salespeople trying to sell dad stuff, and it's like, oh, this is so boring. But I didn't realize I was learning for what was to come later on. And it just kind of snowballed into the home inspections, doing termite inspections with it. Then they wanted me to do treatment. We didn't have a way of doing treatment. Then All Pest kind of come around with Dean, which Dean worked for. I worked with Dean earlier in my younger years doing pest control. I knew he was at the age that he would want to retire. We approached him about buying All Pest. Andy first worked there. Then I come aboard just to try to fill out the company, make sure All Pest was right for us. And that threw up another issue when I got back into pest control, that I wasn't going back to the original company. I was going into a competing company. My father at the time didn't like it. We talked about it, and I didn't know it, but later on he told me he had actually went back and talked to the existing company, and they didn't want me back. Then I got his blessing to go ahead and pursue All Pest. And that's kind of how that somewhat come about.
Sure. So we're going to learn more about that in just a few minutes. But now, Andy, we're going to learn about you. Little boy, growing up.
Grew up here in Richmond, Indiana. I wanted to be a baseball player. Loved baseball. Realized real quick as you get older that there's a long way to go, and it wasn't an easy route. So I took some accounting classes in high school. Really loved it. Went to the University of Dayton to pursue accounting. Realized after the first couple years that I don't think I want to be behind a desk and push numbers my whole life. So switched majors, got a business marketing degree. Obviously use marketing and business every day of my life. Came back to Richmond with no idea of what I'd be doing. Kind of wanted to do something on my own, tried to get jobs. At that time, I needed 3 to 5 years experience. Nobody wanted to give that to me. Worked here and there at some places, and Phil and I got together back in 2001, started the whole process of meeting with attorneys and accountants and getting that ball rolling, filing for the state. With licensures, started the home inspection business in July of 01, and started working for Dean and Robbie at All Pest at the time. And in May of 2003, we finally got the deal solidified, and Phil and I have owned it ever since. And the business has done well. It's expanded, and we've grown every year since. So,
Great.
In a nutshell, that's kind of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, we went from 2 trucks to 7.
That's great. That's
and
great.
Could easily run 8 or 9.
Okay.
We just don't have the manpower or the room to expand anymore.
Really?
At least not right now. No.
So that's what's holding you back is the manpower?
Not necessarily holding us back. It's a lot of training.
Oh, okay.
And getting the right person that wants to stay.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
the tough
difficult,
part.
especially in the northern states, because when winter comes, it's just like a light switch. The bugs just die off, and that's why we started snow plowing to try to retain our help. It really wasn't to try to create money. I mean, that's the ideal, but it was more to retain our people so they wouldn't over the winter go, you know, I need a job. I got to make money to feed my family. Unemployment's not good enough. I'm going to take this other job unless you guys can keep me. And we don't have the pest control work per se, so we started snow plowing. Sometimes that works really good, and sometimes the weather don't cooperate so well. And yeah, there's a lot of training into it. It's not just you don't hire somebody off the street and go send them out to treat somebody's house.
Sure.
Every bug is different. Every bug requires different methods, different chemicals. Some are baits, some are sprays, some are combinations, some are dust. Some's just simple figuring out. Yeah, it's just cleaning. Some minor things can go a long way in bug work.
How do you learn that? How do you train and learn what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, mine come obviously from my father. I mean, there are some, you meet people in our training. We constantly have to go to training to keep our license.
Okay.
And we meet different people, and I've met people that started cold turkey, and I think, how in the world could you do that?
Yeah.
If you have to work for another company to learn what to do. And I've had other companies call and say, hey, having a problem with this, how do you guys handle that? And the first thing I think, well, where are you located? Because I don't really want to teach my competition. And as long as they're not really competition, I have had conversations with other pest control people to help them. The learning process, it's some of it's just trial and error sometimes. There's times you get in, bed bugs, when they first come around, it was trial and error for a little bit for us. We were having some real complications of taking care of the problem. Once we figured out how to do it, what chemicals were working, and again, that's where our training comes in. We go to training with the experts.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they do. They're entomologists. They study bugs, and they can really help you with what you have to do to get rid of them. I mean, because most of the time, one general spray sometimes will help out with a lot of things, but with bed bugs, it's a totally different. It's a real issue, a real challenge. You have to be super thorough. You have to have your customer cooperating, or you're probably not going to be successful.
Sure.
And that's a big one.
And it's different than just reading a book. I mean, we have to read books. We have to go to training seminars and continuing education. But for that new guy, giving him that book is going to mean nothing.
Sure.
You have to go out in the field with him or her and explain why we do what we do and get them educated on the chemicals. Because there's people out there that don't want chemical. You want to go natural or organic. And it's difficult in pest control. So education, and it goes a long way, especially with that customer, because of expectations.
Sure. What's interesting, because you're addressing one of the biggest frustrations that students have at the university, is because, for 4 years, we tried to teach them out of the books. We try to teach them from our research, and we try to really get them to understand what business is going to be about. All we can do is give them the fundamentals of what business is going to be about.
Yeah.
Correct.
We cannot actually give them that experience. They go out then and apply for that first job of their career, and they have no experience.
Right.
Then they're frustrated, just as you were, because people are looking for 3 to 5 years of experience, and they don't have it.
Right. Yeah.
They want to know how they're going to get it. Well, they're going to get it by getting a job and doing the grunt work.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay?
I was going to start out at the low level.
And they think as college graduates, no, they shouldn't have to do that. But yes, they should.
Yeah.
We're giving them a strong foundation for business, but we're then expecting them to actually learn, what those businesses are about. And they're all different.
Absolutely.
And just like, I'm trying to find out how you learn about these bugs, because it would have to be a lot of it from the trainings and schools that you go to, plus just actually getting in there and seeing it.
It's a
Biggest thing
hands-on.
is getting in.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you don't have hands-on training and you just started cold turkey, you're going to really struggle.
Yep.
And it's just, there's no way about it. You are going to struggle. There's just
Sure.
too much that you have to learn to do. I mean, it just is.
Well, there's some things that are happening, though, because I enjoy bringing on the two of you, and I enjoy having you in this community, because whether you realize it or not, you're great examples, okay? A lot of us grow up, decide we're going to have a business, and we think, oh, wow, we're just going to go out and get rich, okay? Number one, talk to either one of you, and we'll find out that probably doesn't happen.
No.
But the other thing is a partnership. You two knew each other growing up?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you hang out?
A little bit. I got picked on, believe it or not. He's a few years older than me, so yeah, we grew up together, but really being his age difference, it was more of the big kid versus the little kid and his brothers.
Okay, all right.
But as we got older and we were still in the community, and it worked.
It's interesting how that age goes away, that age difference.
Yeah, it's just like anything. As you grow older, the age no longer matters.
Right. And the size doesn't. I mean, no longer do you worry about, who's a little guy and who's a big guy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Sometimes in your business, size does matter, getting in those small spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
And that's not easy sometimes, even for me.
you're not the little guy anymore, I guess.
No, not anymore.
But what happens is, it's interesting because you two have to get along. You're partners in this. You're the owners. How many employees do you have?
7 full-time and a couple part-time right now.
Okay. And they're dependent on you guys.
Absolutely.
They depend on you guys to
Yeah.
run a successful business.
That's probably the hardest thing, I think. When we venture into new stuff, I worry whether it's going to work, not for myself, for their employees, because I know they count on us, what you just said,
Yeah.
Sure.
to run a successful business so they can stay working and making money, making their salary.
As well as we count on them.
Yeah.
They're the brunt of what we do, and I love all my employees. They're fantastic people, and they do what we need them to do.
Sure. Well, it sounds like you have a great working relationship with everybody.
Yeah, it's like a little family. It truly is. I mean, we know each other's kids. We know when they're playing baseball or they're doing this, they're doing that. What the grandbabies are now doing, their new chapter in their life, becoming grandmas and grandpas, and they're, it's neat hearing their stories all the time. And we really are a tight little family there. It's different.
And it works for us. Our business kind of works for us, and it has. Yeah, we battle on some things, and we rejoice in other things. But when it comes down to the bottom line and making it happen, it happens.
Yeah.
And we have our own kind of roles, so to speak. But all in all, it works. I tend to be more business focused. He's more job oriented focus, and we have that chemistry. And for whatever reasoning, it works, and we don't have too many clashes and battles.
Yeah, it's next to never, really.
That's good. It's interesting, though, because I remember meeting the two of you actually in a home inspection. And I think it's great that you two worked so well together. But I also think it's interesting how you've taken it from the home inspection to All Pest. And it's almost as though you've seen a need because your consumers had a need.
Yeah.
And that's some of the best marketing. When people think of marketing, often they think advertising, promotion. But at the university, I try to make sure the students understand there's a difference. Marketing is truly the research. It's recognizing what the consumers and the customers are needing and wanting. Then, after you master that, you can come back to the advertising, promotion, and say, we have it, here's what we have, and here's how we offer it. But you guys obviously seen that need. And you went from home inspection, which you still do, and then you added the all pest.
That come, when I was doing termite inspections with the home inspection, I didn't have the capabilities of doing treatments, although I knew how to do them.
Sure.
And I was actually bidding them for all pest before we owned it. And they kept saying, you need to be able to do these treatments. How much does it cost? And I'm like, we don't treat. We're just, but I'm like, man, I know how to do these treatments. They're not hard, and I know what we need, and that's how all pest started. Because we started doing termite, I was selling, when I found termites, I'd give them an estimate through all pest, and I wasn't a worker for all pest.
Well, I got hired on to be a grunt worker for all pest, and that's more so how the home inspection and the all pest kind of gelled together. For the reason Phil just explained, that doing termite inspections, we needed a company to do that, so we chose all pest. And then Phil went back to Purdue to get his WDI inspection license, and then I filled in and was doing treatments so we could kind of do both, where if he found termites on the inspection end, then now I would be able to treat them, or our all pest would be able to. And that, for a couple years, that went on, and then the two gentlemen were ready to retire, and the rest is history. And that's, in a nutshell, how we got involved with all pest and made it grow. And we've tried different
different things,
aspects of business.
Sure.
Mowing, landscaping, fertilization, and weed control. And now, through trial and error of all that, we decided that pest control was where we wanted to generate the most of our focus, and we got out of doing a lot of the other stuff to focus on that. So, and it's been a good thing.
But you're both true examples of entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurs are always thinking, they're always developing, they're always coming up with ideas, trying to act upon those ideas, and they're always changing. And that's what you guys do. You said it's like a light switch. Winter comes, bugs die. Spring comes, they're back out there.
Yep.
So what do you do when that switch goes off? In the winter?
Kill bed bugs.
Now
bed bugs being the problem that they are.
That switch doesn't get turned off.
So those stay around year round.
Yes. And you have mice. You get roaches, spiders still. On slab homes, people still deal with ants in the wintertime, be it 20 below.
Okay.
Because there's a constant underneath that home, so your plumbing doesn't freeze, and with the material that's underneath, ants love it. They thrive.
I see.
So bugs still survive in the winter, just nowhere near as much, and you can't do any major outside work.
Wow.
Which is where the brunt of bugs come from.
It's fun to have a conversation with you guys because you know what you're doing. And a lot of times I know people probably get frustrated because they have to have you out. They don't like to probably spend money on bugs.
Correct.
But it's probably one of the best investments they can make to actually save their home.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If they got termites or powder posts, carpenter ants, carpenter bees, they're wood destroying insects. So, and they do damage.
And there's ways to treat those very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, and it works. Now, our quality of service is what we strive. I mean, it's not. When we go to your house, it's not just to make money from you. It's to make sure our quality is done good. We try to communicate with our customer of what to expect. It's not, we're going to treat today, they're going to be gone this afternoon. It doesn't really work that way.
Okay.
Sometimes it does, but it's not likely. We give them the expectation, what to expect, and as long as you communicate with your customer to let them know that up front, it makes it so much easier. And that's how it works. I mean, we know this bug, by next week they'll be gone.
Okay.
And the next week they're gone, your customer's just tickled to death.
Sure.
And they'll call you back when they have a problem. and they'll tell their friends and family, and that's where, but we go back, if we don't take care of it, we go back to take care of it. And that's where, and that's what we try to tell all of our, sometimes the job gets underpriced. They go and they know because they was at another house very similar, and the job was a lot more money. But even if you're at this, it doesn't matter what we're charging. You do the same quality of service every time.
Sure.
No matter what. If we underbid it, that's our fault. Don't worry about that. You do the job how we want you to do it, how we train you to do it, and that's what we expect you to do. And they do. And that's where we really, I think that's our best aspect, I think.
That's the customer service. It's the name of the game.
Yeah, and I've had others say that, and I think you're right. And it's how you do it.
Absolutely. And educating, like Phil said. It goes a long way.
Sure.
You may spend a little more time than what you're wanting to spend on that particular job, but at the same time, you're building relationships because you want that business later on. You want them to call you back.
Sure. Well, now I have to tell you that the fun part of the business is exactly what we've already talked about. You guys know what you're doing, okay? You know bugs. Yeah. So when you come into a house and you can identify what the problem is, you're ready to act. But you guys own a business. It's not all fun.
No.
You have to be doing the things that I'm teaching. So you have to be doing the accounting. You have to be doing the finance. You have to be doing the human resources. You have to do the management, the marketing. All those things go into the business. You guys are partners. You had to make some decisions. You have to work together on pricing. All of the things are your responsibility. How do partners divvy that up? And how do you make that happen? You like the marketing side.
Yeah,
I do. I like the whole.
Yeah, he really likes the marketing
business
side.
aspect, which entails all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
My partner over here, he's getting there because he's now understanding the business part of it, which is hard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we have battled in the past at times, where I want to be more focused on the office and doing more things in-house, but we're busy enough that we're both out in the field and trying to make decisions. Do we advertise with this particular company, or do we put money into this? Or
And that's where we kind of, it works good because he'd have us advertising in everything. he'd have us almost broke advertising, where I'm always pulling back the ranks going, no.
And I need that.
And and that's where we kind of, it gels out and works out because, we got into radio because he wanted to get into radio. And I liked the radio, but it was probably the best thing we've done. That and just simply lettering our trucks and putting the ape on our truck. You go by and kids are always pointing, looking at the monkey, and you're hearing all the time, don't get all pest off. I hear it constantly. And that come a lot through the radio. And we've done billboards. We actually done television for a while.
Yeah.
It's just constantly trying new things, but he's always wanting to go further with the marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
We rely a lot heavily on Connie, our secretary, our main one. She does a lot of our books. She understands the business. She's very knowledgeable in pest control.
Yeah.
And she's a big part and the rock of that business. And a lot of people don't know that. We value her. She understands that, and she does her job, and she keeps our books up and snuff, and we kind of go through and make sure everything is
we always
kosher.
But tease once in a while because we're the owners of the company, but she's been with the company longer than we have.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was there before we were there.
That's great.
And she actually worked for Rogers Pest Control, where she had prior knowledge of pest control, answering the phones, being able to answer their questions. Is a big part of our process. They a lot of times sell our jobs on the phone.
Yep.
And we have Friday meetings and training sessions Friday at the shop in the morning, and they always sit in. The girls do. They're always listening, intaking what we're training our guys. They're listening so they can answer the phone and try to answer the questions. And she does a great job of it.
Yep.
So that's good, though, because honestly, you guys are the owners.
Right.
But it sounds to me like all your employees are part of the partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So everybody's got a role. You understand that, and part of the HR is having the right people, but now utilizing them to their maximum, and that's what
Right.
you're doing.
And I've been on both sides of the fence as an employee and now an owner.
Right.
And I've been with with other companies that, it was managed differently. It's that's their way of doing things, and we rely on our employees. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the customer base that we have and the want of using All Pest. So our employees are very, very intricate in what we do, and I try to make them feel that way, and reward or award them as necessary.
Sure. So, well, you've been on both sides. You've been an employee and an owner. Employees get paid first.
Absolutely, and we have.
Yeah.
There was times 7-8 years ago when there were a lot of winters where Phil and I didn't get our paychecks.
Okay.
And that's a reality in business.
How'd it feel?
It's not fun.
Yeah, that's not the fun.
And it made you want to work that much harder so that doesn't happen, which in turn led us into the snow.
Okay.
Yeah, you work all summer long and you're making money and you're banking money, then you're knowing winter's coming and it just depletes your cash. I mean, you go all the way down to where we're not getting paychecks and they're like, well, we need to make some changes somewhere along the line to where we can start getting our paycheck 52 weeks a year. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And
you're there now, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
it took a while.
You don't ever want to say you're over the hump, but in the back of our minds, I know we feel like we're over that hump. We're no longer going to be worrying about our paycheck and being able to pay the employees.
And that goes in line.
And there was even times we had to go to the bank and borrow money to make payroll.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because that's something I can't teach in the classroom. I can tell them, but until they actually feel it, it's not the same.
And it's not. No. And being in business is not always about the money.
Right.
Because there's times where the money's not there.
There are a lot of times when you're first starting, it's a real issue and a huge thing, especially with advertising, and you don't have the money, and winter's coming, and you're like, gosh, we got to try to save that money instead of spend it because we need it in the wintertime.
Great. Well, this concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today we met with two entrepreneurs that are great partners. And if you really paid attention to what they were saying, their partnership is sure between the two of them, but it's all their employees working together as one. And so that's what's made them quite the success. You heard it, they had to learn from experience. They know what they're doing, but they're always thinking ahead, and that's a true entrepreneur. And we had two of the finest right here in Richmond, Indiana. So thank you again for watching In Your Business.